blackmailed by my fear and the fear that my families will be injured. That's the Achilles heel, is the fear for the families. But we are coming forth in numbers. And ideally, if we got 100 people per state, that would, it would not be necessary, but it would be a wonderful demonstration of the unity for the unanimous declaration of the sovereign people. Let me say something else. Tim Turner has been selflessly touring the country, establishing assemblies, and he's going to be coming to you starting tomorrow, if he didn't already this weekend, and whipping you guys and gals into shape, inviting you to come aboard, giving you a look at this wondrous document. I can guarantee you, my friends, when you read this document, well, you've already heard page 1, but when you see it and read it, you're going to have a smile on your face. When you flip to page 2, I warn you, be sitting down. You won't believe what your eyes will see. And when you read page 2 and page 3 and page 4, and then flip to the next group of pages, and then the next section, all 3 sections being action-oriented, proactive entities, you'll be scratching your head and saying, how is it we didn't do this 10 years ago? There's that much common sense and sensibility in this process. And once you see the document, you'll, I have a feeling the majority of you will be just overwhelmed by a sense of desire to join in and take back the de jure institutions and reinhabit them and arrest the bonds of the de facto offices and bring those offices back into de jure compliance. Reagan, do you have anything to add? Fellas, it's 9:47. We actually have 13 minutes to fill. So
I don't see folks needing to have any fear by signing on to this declaration. I mean, folks, if they're brass enough to come in and start arresting de jure grand jury members, then the party's over anyway. I just don't see that happening. I don't see there being a fear factor here, and I'm sure other folks think differently. But folks, if they will come and start arresting or start causing problems to these de jure grand juries, then it's a scrap of heat to start with, and we're going to have to go another route. But I just don't see where there should be any type of fear factor whatsoever. I know you and Tom both mentioned that, about people getting off their seat and doing something. Folks, I just don't see where they have any standing in law or in the natural realm of things to do anything other than what you tell them to do, as long as you're just in what you're doing.
I agree with you, and thank you for emphasizing that point. Anything I say would probably denigrate what you just said, because I don't think I can find the words to emphasize just how powerful it is for people to come together in this capacity. They know. They run. We've seen them run. Remember, I'm the author of the attorney repellent package. To the best of my knowledge, not once has that package ever failed. Attorneys run. We have seen in multiple jurisdictions attempts to open up unlicensed practice of law investigations by bar associations, and they run when we call them on the simple fact that their letterhead says at law. And if they'd like to present themselves, we'd be happy to issue a subpoena to bring them in law. We know who we are, and more of them are learning who they are not. I would never want to imply that this is going to be a slam dunk, but I do believe that in life we are sometimes surprised. In fact, often we are surprised by situations where we face our fears and we discover, wow, that was nothing. I remember the first time I went on a big roller coaster. Was scared to the dickens of it. Got on it. It was a thrill ride of my life. I haven't told this to a lot of people. I almost drowned when I was a child. And I spent the next 20 years staying away from the water. I couldn't get in it. I watched people in the deep end when I was, 13, 14, and I couldn't even imagine being in there and not drowning. And one day in my 20s, I was staying with a friend right after getting out of school, right out of my residency, and they had a little apartment complex pool. And I went down during the day, since I was between jobs, and I said, well, this is nuts. I'm going to teach myself to swim, and I did. And a month later, I was scuba diving, and a month later, I was helping to instruct scuba diving. And in fact, I had a scuba diving accident, 60 feet underwater in 38-degree weather with borrowed equipment, where the wetsuit was too big, so I was freezing. I hit a thermocline that was 38 degrees, and I lost my one of my fins because of the compression, and my BC, my automatic inflator, failed. And had I not had a knife with me where I could bang the tank, and my buddy who had taken off, it was murky down there, came back, and we did a controlled descent, I wouldn't be alive today. But I faced that fear, and it was exhilarating, absolutely exhilarating. Now, how many times in life have you taught that to your children, where you've said, you got done with something and you realized, my goodness, not only wasn't there anything to fear here, this was a delusion of the mind. Well, this is even simpler than that, because this is people coming together for something. When you see this document, you will realize it's so simple and so rational and straightforward and logical. The only thought you can possibly have is, why didn't we think of this earlier? And I want to apologize for that. We should have, but like anything else, even the people you think of as your leaders, and all of us are embarrassed by that, have gone through an education process. Some a little faster than others, perhaps. But we are now at the point where we all understand who we are, and that it can't be taken away from us. It's our country. It's our law. It's our money. And the rest of the country is going to find that out, but it's going to happen quietly. Let me give you a couple of examples. When that database changes and you get pulled over, you'll have your ID card, and it will have sovereign diplomatic status. And once he sees a few of them, he'll know what that is, but he'll be able to say, go check your computer, because I am not subject to arrest. And we have protocols for all of that, all worked out. There'll be situation after situation like that, with the foreclosures and the tax prosecutions stopping immediately. And those who, at the higher levels of government, who do not comply with our orders, the lawful orders of the de jure grand juries, will be removed from office. They have 3 days to be absorbed back into the de jure office, the appropriate respective de jure office. And there's a total of 14 days for our emissaries to return the covenant of office back to the de jure grand juries. In fact, it'll come to the guardian elders, so that we make sure certain things are centralized. And then it's done. And many of them, when you see the distribution we have planned, you'll see that many of them will jump on board, because, as Tom pointed out, the glory will be going to the public officials. We have things planned for them that will make their life politically enhanced beyond anything they could have undertaken without us. There will be other things happening behind the scenes. Flags will change very quietly. Websites will change to reflect, for instance, California instead of state of California. Business cards will be changed. Secretaries of states will be commissioned to provide certain identifications locally for vehicles and for people, not for persons. All the things, in fact, there was an administrative process I designed, I would say 3 years ago at this point, that we were going to implement with all of the sheriffs. But it never, and I spoke about it on the air, and that's when I started promising we would have a solution, but I never brought it forth because it never felt like it was fully perfect.